All right, Julie. So today we're just going to chat a little bit about your experience with Journey to Freedom. I'd love to hear where you were at before you started the program. Yeah.
Well, I would say before I started the program, I was pretty much felt like I had tried everything. And I felt like a failure and that I was pretty much destined to always be controlled by food and my cravings and just kind of get stuck in this place where I I couldn't control myself, especially around like chips and things like that, and salty foods and snacks. And that I was just destined to kind of overeat them and then feel ashamed about it, and then just kind of like be stuck in this like vicious, like binging shame kind of cycle, if you will.
Almost like the restrict binge cycle, and then
Yeah.
feelings of shame and guilt come on. And
Yeah.
I know I spent a lot of years in that place as well. And I know a lot of other people do as well. And it's something that we can easily get caught up in.
Oh, yeah.
And it can feel really hard to move out of.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so was there anything else going on, your relationship with your body or movement or your mindset about wellness or your mindset about health or um
Yeah. I didn't know. I think I had done a little bit of work on my own because I had exhausted so many diets and exercise programs and things and had very little success, or I would have success for, you know, a period of time, whether it be 6 months or even up to 2 or 3 years. Um, and then it always felt like like, even if I had success, I always felt like, well, when's that other shoe gonna drop? Like, when am I gonna, nothing works out. So when is this one not going to work out too? And I think I had hit the point where the last time that I had lost a fairly significant amount of weight, and that had been, it really hadn't been the beginning of my focus. My focus when I had started that journey was really just to feel good about myself and to be able to do whatever I felt that God had led me, had me here to do. That was my, intention in the very beginning. And then I had just gotten caught up in what I now know was kind of like diet culture stuff. But I had no idea what it was. I just got caught up in making it about me and how it felt to lose the weight and buy smaller clothes. And I started to even develop a little bit of an addiction, I think, at that point. With I had to run every single day. Like it was, or I was a bad person or whatever. So I had kind of, when that happened, I almost self-sabotaged. That was probably like 6 or 7 years ago. And I didn't like the way that felt. It didn't feel like how I had started that part of my journey. And I realized that I had lost my ground, and I was like, whoa, I don't like this. This isn't why I'm doing this. I'm just repeating the same thing again. And I really felt very convicted to stop that behavior, and consequently gained back all the weight. And then that brought in a different type of shame. So I think when I came to you about a year ago on this journey, just try to start this journey, very apprehensive about starting this journey, if you will. I think that I was just like, well, I've tried everything else. I I I don't know what else to do, but I really hated my body. I couldn't look in the mirror. I can't remember at this point if I hadn't been on a scale in quite a bit. I didn't want to be on a scale. Um, I did, because I also knew how that I had been a slave to the scale. Like after I had my babies years ago, I would make these like spreadsheets where I would keep track of my weight, um, and how much I was losing. And I would almost like nurse and pump more than I needed to watch that number go down or whatever. So I think if I remember correctly, my scale was broken. But I was just kind of like, okay, I think this is it. I think I'm just sort of depressed and thinking, I think I'm always just going to be this I don't want to say this because I don't want to this is like a fat, ugly person. I don't want to hear myself say it now because I don't believe it anymore. But that's where I was, where I thought I was just fat and ugly and worthless. And I just was totally lost and kind of desperate. This was sort of like my last, I was like, okay, this sounds like something different. And I need to give it a shot before I just fully give in to this feeling of being a total failure, you know? And trying to figure out that where I needed to just accept that this was who I was and like move on from that, kind of like in a, and not in an acceptance sort of way, like where I'm actually at now, but in an acceptance of like, well, this is just not your thing. Like, and you're just going to have to like, you know, whatever, avoid it and plow through life. If that makes any sense. So I was definitely, I can remember when I spoke with you, the first time I spoke to you over the phone, I was trying to snowshoe and I couldn't, like, I was really discouraged and upset about bending over and like trying to even get my snowshoes on and stuff. And I just felt like, like I was just mad at myself, I think, for putting myself, somehow I blamed myself, like putting myself in that state where, you know, and the shame was just so huge. Like you let yourself get so big that you can't even put your snowshoes on, kind of thing. But I don't feel that way anymore. So
now and doing stuff.
yeah, I mean, and you know what? It's still not as it's not always, it's not as easy as I would like it to be. I'm also 42, so there's that. You know, when I put on my snowshoes a few weeks ago when I went out, it was a totally different experience for me though. It wasn't about that. I mean, I kind of chuckled a little bit when I struggled to put one of my snowshoes on because like I said, I don't even know if it had anything to do with my weight. It was more just like these things are kind of you know,
Awkward to put on. I've tried.
yeah, they're awkward, and it was like, where do I stand, because it was kind of icy snow kind of thing too. So yeah, I'm totally not there and where I was anymore. I went outside snowshoeing, like I said, a couple weeks ago, and it was all about like, oh, I see animal tracks, and you know, look at this, must be where water, like we're standing where there's normally a stream. And I was with a friend, and it was just a totally different experience. It was movement and just being outside with nature and, you know, being closer to God's creation. And it just felt good rather than like something I should be doing or had to be doing. It was something I was doing because I wanted to.
So it's like healing your relationship with food and your body has allowed your world to expand and you're able to look beyond yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I don't even know that I've necessarily lost any, or I don't know, because my scale broke early on in the process, and I replaced the batteries and then it died again. So I took that as a sign that I wasn't supposed to even check in. So I don't even know. But I do know that I just feel totally different. And my circumstances are not, I'm not just hyper focused on my body and what it can't do or what it should be able to do, but it can't. And like, that's just not even, my whole mindset has shifted.
You feel more at peace in your body
So much more at peace.
and
Yeah.
who you are as a individual, as a person.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this program has just totally turned how I see myself on its head, where I, you know, since doing this, I remember when I first started, I'm writing down the things that, you know, these are the good things about my body. And I only sort of kind of half believed them then. And now I, you know, with confidence can, you know, and sometimes the thoughts will still creep in. And when those thoughts kind of creep in, I go like, no, that's not true. That's absolutely not true. And it's more automatic. And those things that I wrote down way back when, you know, they feel true. Like they really feel true. You can absolutely be overweight and still beautiful. And you can have value and you can do things, and it's not like what you look like equals who, like your value, like, or who you are. And yeah.
Helped you get to that place of just, I guess, the mindset change. Because if your mindset was in one place and then it's in an
Right.
what do you think?
I mean, I would say it's a combination. It was, intuitive eating is a wonderful program. But, and I'm sure I could have gotten some things out of reading the book. Most of the time I listened to the book on Audible because I was able to, process it differently that way. Like I was hearing it instead of reading it. And I think that really helped me. Um, and I could listen to certain parts that I don't feel that I could feel myself rejecting. I could re-listen to those parts like 3, 4, and 5 times over again until they became more like, I was like, wait, okay, I think I do believe, like I could, but I could also stop it and take time to kind of absorb that. Um, but what I really think made the huge difference for me was being able to connect with you and your gentle, like just, yes, intuitive eating is like a gentle approach, but the way that you supported me, and I felt really listened to and respected. And I really don't think that I could have done this. I'm probably going to cry. I don't think I could have done this without you. And just, you were just so gentle with me and so encouraging, and just seeing the way that you saw me changed my whole outlook on this. And I could go back and read a chapter and be like, wow, like I really, yeah, she's got a good point. Your approach really was louder than, and your passion and for your cause and your knowledge and your like genuine understanding was just more was louder and more powerful than the crap that I get from the world all the time. And that really broke through. Yeah. So
you put so much work in. You've put so much work in, and you've really challenged yourself when you didn't want to be challenged. Self in areas that felt uncomfortable. And that's a testimony to, your ability to be resilient, which is a huge part of your healing, your strength. Yeah. And yeah, so, and I know your faith has been a huge part of your journey as well. And so, and I love that. So when you reflect on things where you are right now, and you reflect on your relationship with food, and your relationship, with movement in your body. And I know you're still on this journey, and
absolutely.
we're all still on a journey, right?
Yes.
But you're feeling more at peace. You're feeling more just empowered to make decisions about your wellness and not really wanting, a set of rules and
Right.
wanting, and how are you feeling in terms of being able to, communicate with your body, listen to your body's signals? And it doesn't have to be you feel like you can actually hear. One thing I talk about is opening up the line of communication with our body. And what does that mean? It just means being able to actually be attuned to like what our body's saying to us, so we can meet our needs. How are you feeling with that?
I completely, that has changed dramatically. I had no idea in the beginning, like when I was full, when I was hungry. I actually, through this, I figured out some things that I would even binge eat. I don't love that much, which is super weird because I would just like eat them because they were available. And then I'm like, you know what? I don't like those, or I'm not hungry right now. I feel like very trustful of my body now. And I didn't. If my body says that I need something, I honor it. If I want something more salty, I have some, I'm like, okay, I must need, and what do I feel like I've asked my body a lot more questions than I ever did. And I honor those, that information I get. If I want a salad, but I want to put like a creamy Caesar dressing on it instead of some, oh, I've got to do this, like just a little bit of vinegar. Let's just a little bit, like if I want like a Caesar salad, I have a Caesar salad. And
that helps with satisfaction. I mean, for me, I know when I have what I actually want, I feel so much more satisfied.
Yeah.
So much easier to stop at a comfortable point. Right. And we're, not searching for something else.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, the stuff I would do because I would then eat what I thought I was supposed to eat before. I mean, and then I would still that really wouldn't cut it. So then I would have another little thing that was, allowed or that I felt looked like a healthy thing or whatever. And then it was just, it was like I had 4 different things. and then maybe even still wasn't satisfied. And that would be when I would binge on like chips or something else salty later, because I hadn't honored what my body asked for before. And now I just do it. And then I don't, I don't have that, excuse me, that craving most of the time. And sometimes I do, sometimes it will be. So one of the things I really struggled with was eating in the evenings. And I think that started in childhood when I would sneak food because I was a chubby little kid, and it became very obvious that people were judging what I ate. And I started eating at night I think this program helped me realize that I actually was probably one of the reasons was because I was hungry. I was hungry. I was limiting what I was eating in front of people. So I was hungry, and I didn't even realize I had been doing that for so many years. I mean, decades, because this started in childhood, I still have cravings in the evening because I'm a busy mom, and sometimes I don't plan ahead and my day doesn't, and I don't maybe eat everything that my body needs. And so at the end of the day, if it is 8 o'clock at night and my body's like, hey, yo, I'm hungry, I feed it. And I don't have that stigma like, oh, after such and such a time, you can't eat anymore. And I would say 9 times out of 10, now that I think my body trusts me now, if that makes any sense. But now that, my body trusts me and I trust it, I will typically eat a real food item at that point. Whereas before I would go for like something that really was just more about like a craving, or like I've gotta sneak this cookie or sneak this chip or cracker and cheese or whatever. I mean, it is not unheard of that at least once a week I will have a salad. I still eat it in bed, right? Because it's like everybody's in bed, and but it's a couple nights ago I had a salad and some fruit salad, and I kind of laughed because I was like, I don't think a year ago I wouldn't have brought this. Would have been like some box of random sweet or something that I could find, even if it would be something disgusting like that now I know I don't even like the kids candy. We have like a candy drawer. Like it would have been some candies, and it would have been whatever sort of chip or cracker I found, and it still would have left me empty, feeling hungry, and not, and then full of shame instantly. Whereas I ate this beautiful colorful fruit salad, and this salad that had full fat dressing on it, and I actually felt satisfied, and I was getting some nutrients. Now I've also eaten a candy bar and a small serving of, or whatever size serving I want. I don't count it out anymore. And been okay with that too in bed.
Yeah, because it's not, and this is the thing that I know, you've definitely done major healing with, letting go of labels, foods, and finding peace with foods. But what happens, and what I teach is like, when we build trust with food and our body, we're no longer jaded by diet culture, and we're able to actually make choices based on our preference in the moment. And so that's what happened when you chose the salad and the fruit salad. It's not that you felt like you couldn't have the candy bar.
No, I didn't want them.
You just weren't jaded by diet cultures like, oh, you can't have these bad foods. You're able to be very clear about what do I want? And the time you did choose the candy bar, you're able to be like, what do I want? And feeling still feeling the same about yourself, regardless of what you choose to eat. I try to help people understand that is possible, right?
It is. It's 100% possible.
Get rid of the diet culture, and then we can make those choices. Sometimes I may choose to have a salad, and sometimes I may choose to have chocolate cake, but it's not stressful. It's just like, it's a very easy choice. Eating becomes uncomplicated and easy. I like to say it really is possible for eating to be uncomplicated and easy.
Yeah. Eating out was another big thing for me. And when you were talking, it just reminded me that I, very often I would wait to see what the other person I was eating with, like, was ordering. Like if they ordered a salad, I'd order a salad. If they decided to cheat and have like a burger and fries, then maybe I would finally have it, I don't feel that way anymore at all. I literally eat what I want when I go out to eat, and then I am actually full. Because often before, when I would go out to eat, I would come home starving still.
Mhm.
And I just don't. I do notice that it's, it feels very good. One of the things that I do notice though is how many people um, are stuck. Like we go, if someone does say, if I'm out to eat or to lunch with like a friend, and she gets, the French fries or whatever. I mean, I can't even believe how many times people will say, "Oh, I'm gonna do that." Like, I'm gonna run on the treadmill later, or I'm just being bad, or I've been so bad, and it's kind of heartbreaking for me now, whereas I never even noticed it because I was probably caught up in it before.
Mhm.
And now I'm just like, yeah, well, I just wanted fries. And it just kind of,
And how do you feel in those
yeah.
situations? Does that trigger you now as it may have before, or are you
It,
feeling more like just feeling sad for the situation they're in
yeah,
versus feeling triggered? How are you feeling with that?
it varies upon the day. Most of the time, in the beginning, I definitely was triggered by that, and it was kind of scary for me I would have to kind of like prepare myself. And I'm sure you remember we had to talk about them a little bit before. I'd be like, I'm going out to eat. This is what I need to, those were sort of my first victories where I would kind of step out in faith and sort of, okay, I didn't let that bother me, but it was all going through my head. Um, I don't struggle very often. I would be lying if I told you that I haven't, it kind of makes me stop and think. It's not my go-to anymore though. So I almost, um, I'm mostly sad for that person
Mhm.
that they are missing out on something that I now can be a part of where,
Mhm.
food can be enjoyable, and I don't have to feel like I'm keeping, like, it's just so, I feel like a
Not
huge
a
weight.
moral issue, right? We didn't
No, it's not. And I feel like this weight is off my
qualify.
shoulders. I'm not making this do or die decision anymore. Like, my lunch choice today does not determine
Yeah.
the whatever, like even if I eat something and it doesn't settle well with me, it's like, oh, that's interesting. Like my whole inner dialogue has changed.
Mhm.
And it's just not about like, you bad girl, or you should have, would have, could have kind of thing. It's just like, oh, I noticed that. And you use that language a lot that really helped me. um what do you notice? And just that non-judgmental sort of approach that has become more my inner dialogue than anything, and that is so freeing. Like
So,
it's unbelievable.
mhm.
Yeah.
So if you were gonna give somebody some advice on their journey, so they're feeling stuck, they're feeling caught up in the restrict binge cycle, they're feeling just discouraged about that. They're feeling like they don't trust their body. They can't listen to their body. They may not even feel like they're able to hear their hunger or fullness cues. So just
Mm.
like what advice would you give someone to help them along?
um that, well, at first I would tell them that that's 100% where I was at. And it's not, they're not too far gone. I think we can feel that way. I think I was to that point where I had almost bought the lie that I was like just too far gone for anything to work. I, you know, would want them to know that's absolutely not possible, because here I am a year later, and I was there, and I'm totally not there anymore. Um, but it can feel really scary. And um, the biggest thing that I would say is to just do it one thing at a time. And this, I love the way that you do this, because you don't like throw 10 things at me. You didn't throw 10 things at me at once. We talk about one thing and we focused on just that. Um, and so one thing at a time can really make way more of an impact than you realize. You don't have to, like, I would get caught up in like list all 10 of my struggles around like my food, my body, and activity. And really it did help to just start with one thing and sit with it for a little while. And I think it might take a little longer. It took me longer than um I thought it was going to. But and it's a process. You make a few steps forward, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back sometimes, but the more you do it, the less that happens. And once you kind of get a taste for this sort of freedom, it's worth it, if that makes any sense. And um yeah, I feel like diet culture kind of gives us this quick fix. And so if we've been struggling in diet culture all of our lives, which most of us have, um, then you expect a quick fix from everything. And I would say that this is the one, if I were going into this, if I could talk to the Julie who started this about a year ago, I would say don't expect overnight results, but at the same time, don't discount how much a little bit at a time the difference that can make.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like community makes a big difference. Knowing that you're not alone and being in a safe place where you can bring it up and you can kind of see where other people are at, and supporting other people. I know just being in the Facebook group and being able to encourage others really helped my own growth a lot. Because when you're saying something to somebody else and you're extending that grace to somebody else, and you hear yourself even, or you see yourself typing that out, or however then you're like, you can't help but absorb that yourself too. So I don't think I realized I had been doing a lot of my work, if you will, on myself from a very isolated point before I started this journey. And the community was huge for me, and being able to just feel like I wasn't alone. Yeah. So I would just encourage people who are thinking or on the fence or whatever, like, this is different. And there is a community, a safe community. And and it's hard, but anything that is hard is worth it, kind of. And I don't mean that in a cliche way. I just mean, like, this is work that you're doing that trickles into, like, I'm not just speaking to food and eating in my body, although that's obviously integral to my survival. And this has really just trickled into more than trickled, like overflowed into other parts of my life, where I figured out how to set boundaries with others. And I never realized all these things were tied to these food and body issues that I've had. And
boundaries a lot, because it's such an important piece.
Yeah. So that's been humongous, like, and all parts, I'm trying to think of another example. Like, it's really cool. So in the beginning, I thought I was just going to get a handle on my body and my health and my whatever, putting myself first. But it's even with housework and things with my children, like, it's just changed my whole outlook, my whole inner dialogue in life, really. And
so you can get your mind and life back. And that's what I share. We heal our relationship in our body, and we really do get our mind and life back. Because when we're stuck in our head, worried about what we're going to eat every second, worried about our body, worried about our exercise, it shrinks us so much, and it keeps us living the abundant life we really are created to live. So, and that's what you're experiencing. That's what I hear over and over again. And that's the message I really try to get across, that when we food, our body, movement, we heal all areas of our life.
Right. Yeah. And what you were talking about, that's exhausting. So you feel like a weight has just been lifted off your shoulders, and you just feel like, wow. And I mentioned my children. I am noticing this is without me even explicitly teaching my children intuitive eating. They are seeing me live it and hearing the language that I use, and I'm watching them, them do that. We're healing that relationship of when they were little, maybe, and they were eating, and I would try to make them clean their plates out of fear, like, oh, if you don't eat, you're not, they'll say to me, I don't want any more of this. And I'm like, cool, awesome. Good job listening to your body. Don't eat it.
Yeah, because we can, people, we could say things all day, but people are watching how we're living our life.
Right, right.
They're watching how you're living your life, and that is going to make the biggest impact on them. So I love that.
Yeah. It's really cool to see my kids doing it, because I know that was one of my questions early on is, I think I've already done some damage to my kids, and how am I going to teach them that? And that's what you said. You're like, just do this and they're going to see it. And they do. They absolutely do. It's really cool.
So today, would you say that you feel reconnected to your body, so to speak? Like you're able to trust your body, hear your body, you feel confident to keep whatever foods you want in your house without fear of binging. Like, would you say those things feel true for you now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I never thought so, but yes, absolutely.
I'm so proud of you, Julie. You've put awesome work in, you put really hard work in, and I know you're still on your journey. We all are, right? So I love that. I love how well you're doing it. I really appreciate that you took the time to share parts of your story.
Yeah, of course.